Welcome to the Whitetail Advantage Podcast with your host, Brett Bovin. Thank you for tuning in and enjoy the show.
What's up, guys? This is Brett Bovin, and welcome to the motherfucking electronic campfire. Now, before we officially kick things over to the guys for the live show, we have a couple of things we want to say. First, we are not politically correct on this show. We cover topics not just in hunting, but all the outdoors, as also topics in society that we face as Americans. And we speculate what's true and what's not true, and how we, the people, need to fix these problems that we face. Now, we have shows within the show. Sunday show, you're going to get more of a laid-back, round-table type segment covering a variety of different topics. Tuesday show is more geared towards state-specific, where we bring a guest that lives and hunts in that state, asking them a variety of different questions. Now, we do a live show on our YouTube channel at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, like I said, on Sundays and Tuesdays. We love to conduct these live shows because it gives everyone out there a chance to interact with all of us here on the show, and we just love doing it. So if you have any questions or anything like that, feel free to drop in the comment section, and some of them we might even pop up here on the screen. I do want to take a second and say thank you to all of our men and women in the military. We want to say thank you for your service. We are greatly appreciative of that, and thank you for your sacrifices. I also want to take a second and say thank you to all the police officers, firefighters, the nurses, the doctors, the construction workers, everyone in public service. We want to say thank you for your service. Now, we have a saying on the show, put your core in a slot machine. What I mean by that is just to help share the show. That's all we ask. We don't run ads. We won't be told by what to say, what to do on the show. We do what we want. We speak what we want. And we are unapologetic and unafraid. So if it hurts your feelings, you get offended, don't care. With that being said, let's kick things over to the guys, and let's really get the show on the road. How's it going, everyone? It's Tuesday, February 11th, and we don't care if you watch. Go fuck yourself. I'm just kidding. Tonight, we're covering with Washington. We have a great guest, Gary. I love talking to him when we were meeting before the show, and awesome conversation before the start of the live show is here as well. So I'm looking forward to talking to him and getting to pick his brain about what's it like to hunt in Washington. Enough of me talking. I don't like to hear myself talk, so I'm just going to sit back, relax, and watch. We're at Dave's on, so I'm looking forward to that. Finally get to see that stupid, ugly mug. So let's bring everybody in. How's it going, everybody? Gary, thank you so much for coming on the show, man.
What's up, fellas?
What's going on, guys?
Gary, for anyone that doesn't know you, can you give a little background about yourself, brother?
So I grew up here in Washington State, moved to Alaska about, it was summer of 2017. We just moved back here July 24, but I only missed a few seasons, so I'm running up now on about 4 decades of hunting in Washington. So, whitetails were kind of my main thing, and turkeys and elk and bear and everything else we could chase in Alaska when I went up there. So I do my own calls. That's what I do for a living. So I got away from the 9 to 5. I worked fabrication for a long time, worked inside sales, and then once we moved back, things just kind of fell in place to start my own business. So that's where I'm at.
Were you ever nervous a little bit when you started, like switching over to your own business?
Man, I don't know if I'd say nervous. There's definitely some stress involved. Yeah. But I mean, things just kind of fell in place more by accident than by planning it. So, it started as a hobby up in Alaska to pass the time. Because I mean, everybody thinks in Alaska you just hunt and fish and work, and the fact is you just work a lot and you hunt and fish a little bit because everything's an expedition up there. So I needed something to do. And here, a couple of years before we moved back, I picked up a cheap little lathe and started building calls, and it just kind of snowballed from there. So, and once we moved down here, it was really a kind of a situational thing. We both had parents with health issues, and, dad's coming kind of the end of their lives. And it was just convenient for me to be at home doing my own thing and available to go do other stuff for them as needed. And it just worked out. So,
Now, if you're listening to this on the audio version, you have to go to their YouTube and watch this video because Gary's wall, the decor is amazing, but he's got some pretty small bucks up there on the wall. They look pretty sweet.
Yeah, I didn't want to bring the big ones out and embarrass them.
I don't blame you.
Yeah, thanks for not making us look too bad.
I know.
Thanks for not trying to show off.
Yeah. Never seen so many fork horns.
I know.
Exactly.
It's amazing what you can do with Bondo and some old bone. It's like,
Dude,
really, you know?
Yeah.
That's why I shed hunt, man. You got to build them somehow.
There you go.
Seriously, no. What? Real quick, what's your secret? Because, well, first off, when you think of Washington, I don't want to dive too much into Washington just right now, but real quick, when you think of Washington, you don't think of whitetail deer. Are all those deer from Washington, or majority of them?
The only deer in here that's not Washington is this one right here. And this guy was Idaho. He was literally a mile over the line in Idaho. So, but everything else you see behind me is all Washington deer.
And it looks like I'm counting 6 then?
There's 2 Euros on the wall, 5 mounts, some other Euros hanging around, and some sheds. So there's more out in the living room and more at my folks' place. And these are just the bigger guys. So,
well, those are just freaking giants. What are you doing? What are you looking for out there in Washington?
So I grew up on, out in the country. We had 240 acres. So I'm a little spoiled in terms of having private ground to hunt. And, I had access to probably, I don't know if I've really added it up, several thousand more that I could hunt that bordered us. That's kind of changed over time. It's not quite that much now, but we've always had a really good deer population. We can be choosy, and years ago, probably 30 years ago now, we actually kind of got pretty serious about managing deer. So started passing deer up and waiting on mature deer. And, when you do it right, this is the results. So,
yeah.
Well, when you think of Washington, you kind of think a lot of mountains. You don't have a lot of like ag and stuff like that. How are they getting that big out there in that type of terrain?
So where in the region I grew up, it's the northern part of what's called the Palouse region of Washington, which is, it's famous for its agriculture, but it's not the huge scale like you get in the Midwest and stuff. But it's a lot of wheat, a lot of lentils, a lot of peas, a lot of alfalfa. So it's a lot of good stuff for the deer. And then where I grew up, we're actually next to a small mountain range. It's about 10 miles long. It's just the juxtaposition of that with the mountains and then the ag. It's a good combination for the deer, along with, we did the minerals and food plots and all that. So, and good genetics.
Well, at least one good state has good genetics. Our state sucks. Not gonna lie.
So what is your deer harvest rules per year?
We are, generally speaking, and it's one buck is pretty much the standard across the state. There are some opportunities here and there to draw a second tag, which is normally just for a doe. So it's pretty limited harvest. You're not whacking and stacking stuff out here like some of the, the eastern states are.
Michigan.
Yeah.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, I got a buddy down in where's Alabama or Tennessee? I can't remember, one of the southern states. They can shoot like 5 deer a day.
Yeah.
That's like what?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I think we can do 13 a season.
Oh man, that's
They
crazy.
consider deer in those territories like ticks. They hate them. They hate them.
It's a different world, that's for sure.
Well, it's a cash grab too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Gary, are you doing a mix of private and private and public, or are you single just to one of them?
For whitetails, I pretty much hunt our family farm. I've got a few other places up here. Where we live north. We live on my better half's family farm here. And the deer up here on the private ground, it's so broken up and everybody shoots every deer that moves. Mm-hmm. There's really nothing big. So I pretty much stay down home and hunt that. But with that said, there are big deer in the Northeast. It's not like it used to be, but there are. And I do have a few public ground spots that I'm going to start targeting and kind of getting back into that I used to hunt a lot of years ago when I just rifle hunted. So
are you rifle hunting? Do you still do rifle hunting?
I don't. I haven't picked up a rifle for deer since before I left for Alaska. So I pretty much just are. All these are all archery bucks other than this one sitting on the table. He was rifle in Idaho.
Wow.
That's great. That's really cool.
Nice. Are you a saddle hunter or a stand hunter? or a ground hunter?
I do both.
Do you?
I think saddle's a good tool, but I think there's way too many guys getting sucked into the mobility thing, thinking that's just going to be the ticket, and they wind up cutting their own throat by not sitting their ass in one spot long enough.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I think I like
doing both. I killed this guy out of a saddle, so it was just the way the situation worked out. It was a quick September pattern, and I had a couple days take advantage of it, and it was a perfect setup for a saddle. So otherwise, like most of these deer are late season deer, I'd be in a stand, a nice big comfortable Millennium or something that I can spend all day in.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You said you were in a Millennium stand?
That's what I normally sit in, the big Millennium M150s, unless it's something, it's where I got to hike it in further, then, I might downsize it a bit. But if when it comes to comfort, those things are pretty tough to beat.
I have the 360, and it's a bitch getting up the tree, but once it's up there, it's comfier than shit.
I about died hanging one of those up once.
Yeah.
Same here. Then it's funny, they advertise an old lady can do it by herself. That's a freaking lie.
Yeah, I don't want to meet her.
Yeah.
Tough old lady.
Yeah, she'd kick the crap out of you.
Yeah, no shit.
I'm getting my own mobile setup for saddle hunting just to kind of be a little bit more mobile, but I've heard people that, like you just said, they can use it as a crutch and be too mobile. I mean, I know
they do.
Johnny's more of the Johnny and Squatch, and Dave's kind of like a hybrid mix of both of mobile hunting, so they can attest more to that style of it. But I could see how constantly moving is going to hurt you in the long run, and I don't think people recognize that.
It happens a lot,
There's a time.
I think if you're smart about it, it's not really going to hurt you too much. I just think there's those guys that, I've talked to quite a few guys over the years about it, and it just seems like, the guys that are stuck on that mobility thing, it's like, I can move here and move there. It's like, well, how the hell do you know that spot you just left wasn't the spot to be, the day after you left it? It's like you were there for a reason. You got at some point you got to have some patience and persistence in a spot besides just, jumping from tree to tree all over property or all over a piece of public ground.
Definitely. You got to sit it for more than a day at least before you burn it,
Yeah, exactly.
The saddle's great for like recon, man. I mean, you can get in early season or just before the season.
Yeah.
Hop around them trees. Hop where you think they're going. Watch what your cameras are telling you and stuff. But I mean, you definitely got to put your time in and put your seat time in a lot of spots.
Yeah, saddle is great, especially when playing the wind. I mean, that's one thing I did learn. Playing the wind with the saddle is a whole new game changer.
Yeah,
and it's worked, but
it does.
Yeah. How I do more of the. Go ahead. Sorry. Nope.
No, you can go.
No, I was just saying I'm more of the sticks and stand, lightweight mobile. I can get up and down just as fast as a saddle with a light stand.
We would have never knew that. But your name is Mobile Hunter, part of it.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had no idea.
But I can, like you said, I can sit in a stand for an entire day and be comfortable.
Yeah.
Unless you sell gas at Mobile, but I mean,
Well, then you're kind of screwed.
Squatch actually gave me a pretty good idea where just to kind of, so I hunt on private property, to kind of put some pre-placed like sticks up in a tree that I know it's going to be one spot I want to sit in eventually. That way I don't have to keep bringing the sticks in and keep moving them, constantly doing the same routine up and down on different trees here and there. And then I have that stuff kind of right there, but I can still be mobile and move around.
Yeah.
I thought that was a great idea.
I can't totally take credit for that. I got to give credit to that for Reaper, because Reaper was the one that told me that's what he does. And, I followed suit with it and told you about it. So, good knowledge is passed down through a lot of good buddies on here. So I can't take total credit for that.
Look, a question here for you, Gary, from Michael Vigiano. I'm sorry, Michael.
Vigiano.
Vigiano. Okay.
Yeah.
Where are you located in Washington, Gary?
I live about 2 miles outside of the town of Chewelah, which is in pretty much not the very northeast corner, but up in the northeast. So a lot of the turkey hunting guys will know Chewelah, Colville, Kettle Falls. It's getting to kind of be famous across the nation at this point for turkeys more so than deer.
That's awesome.
Now, you mentioned earlier you lived in Alaska, or you hunted a lot of in Alaska?
I lived in Alaska. I was up there for about 7 years. So
what did you take from Alaska hunting and to incorporate into your style into Washington?
About the only thing, I mean, Alaska's in some regards, the hunting's just a little more straightforward because a lot of it's just glass and spot and stock. Probably the whitetail hunting transferred over into like bear baiting somewhat with the stands and the patterning and the cameras. That was probably the only thing up in Alaska that really reminded me a lot of hunting back home. Mm-hmm. Other than that, probably it's pretty straightforward hunting up there. It's none of the animals I would say are hard to hunt animal wise. It's the terrain and the logistics that kick your ass. So,
yeah.
Alaska, the last frontier. I mean, to be able to say you hunted that state, that's pretty impressive. That's one thing I want to do before I die.
Yeah, do it more sooner than later because it's put it this way, it ain't what it was 20 years ago.
No.
Father Time's kicking my ass too.
Where did you live at in Alaska?
I lived in Anchorage.
Oh, in Anchorage? Okay.
Yeah. Well, I hated Anchorage. The rest of the last school I hated. I hate the city. I can't stand being in town. So
yeah.
Mm-hmm. So that was a little rough. That's part of the reason I picked up the call making was just to, give me something to do being in town. So
yeah, that'd be rough.
I almost lived in Washington. I think when my dad was graduating college, he had an offer to work in Spokane, Washington.
Yeah, Spokane's just about 40 minutes south of me.
Oh, wow. Yeah, he had a job there and a job opportunity in Arizona and one in Ohio. I think it was Cincinnati, But he chose to stay here.
Nice.
But he loves mountain. That's why I asked him, like, why are we out there? And he goes, I just love mountains. Next thing I know, I love mountains. I got it freaking tattooed on me because of it. So thanks, Dad. I love it.
Is
that next to your tramp stamp?
That is his tramp stamp.
Yeah.
I wanted a little small of his back.
No, I think that's a golf cart actually on the small of his back.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. It says I love Tiger on it.
Yeah. There's a hole with a flag right below the hole.
And with that being said, Gary, it's been a great show. Awesome.
Do you do a lot of turkey hunting too, Gary?
I do. Yeah, I do a lot.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we do too. We do.
Yeah, we do too.
Love getting on
there.
So
in fact, where I live right here, the birds come down through the plateau that we're on, and then they drop down into the valley for winter time. So right now there's probably, good God, I don't know, go a half mile down the road from the house and in the various fields and timber patches. I mean, every time I drive to town, I see anywhere from 400 to 800 birds.
Wow,
man,
it's nuts. I mean, they spread out come springtime. They'll be up here around our house, for the first, well, generally the better part of season as they migrate back up into the mountains. So, then we have a ton of turkeys back on my home place too. So, I mean, I got no shortage of birds to chase.
That's awesome.
No, do you bow hunt the turkeys too, or?
I generally do. So I think last year I filled my third tag, and that was my 75th turkey I'd ever killed, and probably 2/3 ish of those have been with my bow, and the rest with the shotguns. So
nice.
Yeah, I love bow hunting.
Do you have problems? Do you have mountain lion out there?
We do. Yeah. In fact, up here where we're at, there's a lot of cats. In fact, I think we might have a cat kill back on a little timber patch. We got a lot of crows.
Oh, really?
And eagles hanging around. So I'm not sure there's something just died or something got killed, but there's been a cat around here pretty close.
So let me ask you, how does that affect your season when it comes to getting on these whitetails? I mean, it's got to be something in the back of your mind, getting up a tree or walking through the woods and, they're there. And then after you kill one, you got to worry, well, gee, if I leave them overnight, is it going to get picked up?
Generally, the only thing around here you got to worry about overnight is the coyotes. I mean, I'm sure you guys deal with that too. The cats really aren't. A lot of guys worry about them. I don't even generally pack a pistol. They're just not really going to bother you for the most part.
No kidding.
And I hunted in Alaska and I shot my first brown bear at 3 feet, so I'm not really worried about a cat.
Oh.
Wow, man. So, that's
was
one of
that
my
on
dreams.
Purpose?
It was how do I explain that? It was slightly on purpose, not intentional though. How's that? I was sitting in a ground blind on a bait.
Yep.
And they decided to make their trails right past the ground blind to come down to the bait.
Oh, man.
And he came in like clockwork and walked right past the blind, stuck his head inside the ground blind while I was sitting there. And luckily I had a black blanket on because it was cold. And in Alaska, there's no shooting hours. It's like if you can see, you can shoot. So in the springtime, you're getting close to 24-hour light. So you hunt.
I was going to say, yeah.
Yeah, wow.
So this is like at midnight. And as he swung his head back out, I had the 44 in my lap ready to go because I knew they were going to come by close. I picked it up and cocked as quiet as I could and shot him. So,
man.
Yeah.
Wow.
Dang.
And then after that, I started hunting him out of a tree stand. That was a little too close.
Yeah, that
right.
That would pucker you up.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It was some adrenaline because I missed the first shot. Went about an inch over his neck bone at the base of his head. I didn't want to shoot him in the skull and ruin the skull, God forbid.
Yeah.
Do that. So the second shot, I reached out the blind, put it on I literally physically put it on his shoulder and shot, and that broke his shoulder and took his heart out. And he ran off on 3 legs. I dove out gangster style, squeezed one off.
Break yourself,
diving out and shot. It was pretty dumb, but at that point the adrenaline was pumping, and I gathered my wits and stood up and put 2 more in his lungs, and he was dead on the second shot.
Yeah, buddy.
What was it like after the adrenaline dump happened?
Oh, dude, the adrenaline dump after the fact. Ask my better half. I called her 2 minutes. Once I knew he was dead and down, I got on the phone. I'm like, I got him. And she's like, whoa, call me back. And he calmed down, dude. I'm like, ooh, yeah, the adrenaline dump was massive.
Oh, yeah, when you got something like that. I shot a black bear up in the mountains, and it was directly above me. And it was the first bear I ever shot, and it came tumbling down the hill after I shot it. And there's a blowdown, and the bear died. I swear to God, I got pictures of it on my phone, literally 5 feet away from me.
Yeah.
And he did the death moan.
He did the moan? Oh, yeah.
As he's rolling down the hill, I have the 35 lever action, and I'm like, no, and he's coming towards me, and I'm pulling my 45 Smith out because I'm like, if he comes over that log, I'm going to pop 6 in him and figure something out because I'm not wrestling a bear. But so cool, man. He crashed into the log behind me, and he just did that.
Oh, yeah.
And that was it. I was like, wow, that was intense. So,
oh, yeah. There was actually a guy, I can't remember where it was Alaska or someplace, shot a bear like that and came rolling down the hill, hit him and killed him. The bear was dead, but it just rolled down and took him out.
Yeah.
I can see that happening.
Man, that is wild.
Yeah, that's a hell of a way to go out.
How big was the bear?
Right?
That was just an average sized black bear.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Man. So now, how has your season been this year, Jerry?
So this was, I guess, probably the best season I've had with my bow. Well, hunting, because I shot this big deer in September. I killed a 6-foot brown bear with my dad's old 45-90 in October, and I killed my elk in December with my bow. So,
brother, I just got a 45-70 government in the Henry rifle. My father's carried a Marlin's 45-70 since I was a little kid, and I carried it in the woods when I was younger also. But that 45-90, I thought when I was looking through your pictures, that was what that was.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
So, yeah, I was all planning on reaching out a little ways and whacking them. I wound up sneaking them, shooting 35 yards with it. So,
yep.
Man, that is wild.
Even better. Closer the better.
And I killed all 3 of my turkeys in the spring, got my first canvasback duck. So, I mean, it's been all in all a good year besides losing Dad in August. So
that
was kind of
sorry, man.
Year.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, he had dementia, and it was, there's a point with that stuff where it's just time. So,
yeah, I went through that with my grandma too. She had it. It was just like, just let her go now.
Yeah, there's a point where it's just I don't want to sound hard, so there's just no point at a certain point. So
yeah, you're just basically, she was like a zombie. She didn't know anything.
Yeah,
she couldn't tell what she was doing.
Yeah,
it was just to that point where
yeah,
for
sure.
I hope it comes soon because she's just basically mind suffering right now.
Yeah, at that point, it's just mercy. At that point, just let him go.
For sure.
But I'm definitely sorry to hear that.
Appreciate it.
I don't know if you're trying to talk, Brett, but you're muted.
Yeah, Brett, you're silent over there, buddy.
I'm sorry. I accidentally hit the mute button. I'm sorry. So don't yell at me.
It's not a bad. It's not a bad
Turkey
thing,
Slayer
really.
406 there.
Yep.
Said I had a bear at 18 yards last spring chasing gobblers.
Yeah.
That's close.
That's cool.
We have a question here for Gary from Michael. What's the biggest buck you have shot, Gary?
That one I shot this September.
Nice.
He's 5x5. I think he grossed 179 if I remember.
Nice.
Man.
Now I want to ask real quick. So I think once you hit Colorado, maybe people start referring to deer like 5x5s compared to East, where it's like, oh, that's a 4-pointer, an 8-pointer.
Yeah.
Kind of like where do you think the line draws? Like, all right, do you think it's just the general the western half?
So this is because I had my own outfitting operation for over a decade, and so I guided guys from all across the country. And it seems like it's not so much a portion of the country. The guys that grew up back east that have just hunted whitetails, it's always it's an 8 point, 10 point, a 12 point, whatever it is.
Yep.
But if the guys have hunted mule deer, those guys generally don't count eye guards, and that's a 4x4 or 5x5 or whatever. So. And in Colorado's probably, if you had to put a geographic spot on it, Colorado's probably pretty close.
Yeah, I'd agree with it. It was actually one of our trivia questions the other night. It was talking about, they talking about the 4x4s and, different sized mule deer and stuff like that.
Yep.
So, yeah, I'd agree.
Back in the day, it was kind of made sense not to count brow tines on a mule deer. And unfortunately, there's still guys out here who don't count them on a whitetail. It's like, you're retarded, dude. It's like,
yeah, you're missing out on probably.
Yeah,
anywhere.
It's confusing. That's why I always say, I always say a 5x5. I say what it is. Just I've dealt with so many different people. It's like it just eliminates the confusion.
Yeah.
Yep.
Gary, how are you using your fucking words? I swear. Trail cameras. There we go. I know words.
I used to run a lot more than I do now. But I pretty much exclusively switched over to cell cams, and I will basically, back home, I know the property so well, I probably wouldn't even have to use them, honestly, but I will generally set those up in travel zones and in food spots and just identify find whatever buck I want to target.
Yeah.
So I can figure out where he's traveling and get on him. So mine's pretty basic. If I'm going to go attack one of these big public ground tracks up here, I'm going to be putting out a lot more cameras because you just have so much area to cover and get it narrowed down to where the deer are hanging and traveling. So at that point, I'm probably going to target the edge of some bedding areas, the ridge tops, the saddles, the whatever I suspect the food source is going to be. And try to narrow them down that way. So, and a lot of places up here you can't run cell cams just because there's no signal. So,
right.
Gotcha. Yep.
I have a question here for you from Michael. Which cell cam brands do you use? I don't use Moultrie. I ain't using that shit. So I'm using.
So I use Spy Point mostly. I know a lot of guys rag on them, but I've found if you keep the firmware updated, I've not had an issue with them. It seems like the only time there's a problem is with firmware. So I'll run those, and then I run some what's the other one? Stealth cams. Those are pretty much the two I run for the most part.
That's all I run are stealth cams too.
Yeah.
I'm with Moultrie. I run Moultrie cameras. Had really good luck with them so far.
Yeah. I think anymore you're going to be okay with most anything, and it seems like most companies have relatively decent support if you don't. So,
but I've used the stealth cam, the Spy Points. I mean, just for me personally, I was only using the Adalinks to the older cameras.
I had horrible luck with that,
dude. Man, I took them outside and shot them with my 45. They were just junk.
Yeah.
But
yeah, mine's in a ditch somewhere because I chucked it out the truck window.
Have you bought any of the new stealth cams, the 2.0s yet?
No, I don't have any of those yet. No,
I'm gonna get one with the internal memory and see how I like those compared to using SD cards.
Yeah,
well, when you want to switch up to the Moultries, they don't have SD cards in them. It's all memory.
Yeah,
that's one thing, man. I really love about it because I hated SD cards.
Oh, dude, I remember when I guided, I ran upwards to 100 cameras, and dude, it's like you get back to the house, like, shit, did I put a card in that one? Did I turn that one on?
Yep.
Oh, it drove me nuts.
And then you're running, changing batteries every 2-3 weeks.
Oh, yeah, you go broke doing that crap. But yeah. I also remember the days of the old 35 millimeter trail cameras when they first came out. And
I still got a couple of those.
I think I probably do too somewhere.
Yep.
I was telling the guys back when I first started out, they had trail timers. They weren't even cameras.
Oh yeah, you had the trip wire.
Yeah.
Yep. I remember that too. I remember shooting deer before you had any of that. So
me too.
I mean, these two on that post, there was no such thing as trail cameras, and I shot those guys. So
Yep.
You just picked up sheds and did your scouting in the summertime. You knew it was around, and you did your thing. So
I kind of miss it, like the surprise, because I inventory the hell out of my deer here, but I missed the surprise. But what's cool is a lot of the bucks push out, and we get new bucks in the area. So that's cool. You know, you always got a little bit of that surprise.
Oh yeah, there always is.
Yeah. Dan. Yeah, he hates spy points.
Dan, they also double good as a wheel chalk for your truck if you got to stop it from rolling.
Comment here from Justin asking, anyone run cuttybacks?
No, I haven't.
Not for a long time.
Yeah, I used to back in the day when they first came out, and they were like
they're kind of top of the line for a while, but they haven't gone to the wayside.
Yeah, I was having picture problems with the triggers on them. You know, you get an ass picture of a deer all the time.
Yeah.
Sometimes it wouldn't take a picture at all. And then I just went back to stealth cam because I never had problems with them. I just like trying new stuff.
I mean, poor Dave, he realized he put the trail camera facing the tree a couple times.
That was Brett with the mole tree.
Oh, that was Brett. That was Brett. That's right. It was Brett, not Dave. I'm sorry.
That's why I was taking those fuzzy pictures.
Yeah, jeez. Oh, man. I keep getting this one gray blurry picture or something in the tree.
It looks like tree bark.
Oh, man.
I'm 31 years old, and apparently I still don't know how to work a trail camera.
Well, that's not all you don't know how to work.
Gary, I want to ask a question though. I've heard in Idaho, if Root Beer is still watching, he can probably confirm it more than what I can. Idaho has been doing this thing. I think it started this year. It's going to start next year, where they are putting tags. You have to have a big game tag. For in-state, it's for $10, and for out-of-state residents, it's for $50 in order to shed hunt.
I've heard that. I don't know if it's confirmed though. But I've heard that rumor.
Is that kind of been in the mumbles out there in Washington?
With the way our Fish and Game Commission operates, it wouldn't surprise me, but I haven't heard anything official yet. Put it that way.
I wouldn't be surprised if our did it anyway.
Ours probably just doesn't know about it yet till they hear it here.
Oh, they know. They're just trying to figure out how they could charge money for it.
Because I was watching.
The problem with the antler thing is there's so many guys have so much competition, guys making money off it. That
heck yeah, they are
seeing the dollar signs. So
like that. What's that? The Antler Company that sells sheds.
Yep.
Oh, dude, they're making just buckets on top of buckets for money.
Well, look at what they charge for a stupid dog chew, dude. I could have retired if I'd have.
Oh yeah,
dude, that is crazy.
Yeah, way to get the vet bill when your dog breaks a tooth on one of them.
Yeah, no shit. Oh, trust me, I know. I got an old lab that he used to chew on antlers all the time when he was young. We're paying the vet bill now, I can tell you.
Oh, yeah.
One more buck coming in. It's not in discussion in Washington yet.
Okay.
It is now because they just watched it.
Yeah, give it time.
See, I think
you heard it here
first. I think the reason they're trying to do this is because they can see, because in my opinion, hunting kind of became this popularity thing back roughly 5 years ago, maybe, where it started. People were Instagrams, YouTube channels, and this stuff and that started popping up left and right.
5 to 8 years ago is when it kind of blew up, it seems.
Yeah. And then shed hunting kind of picked up in the last maybe 3 years roughly, and they started seeing that there can be a good price value for states for, like, all right, we can try and steal some money out of this stuff on top. So then you look at the side of, you have hunting numbers decreasing basically everywhere. So in my opinion, they're trying to find ways to make up for that loss in tags and license fees, and they're trying to pick it up in this place or over here. That's how I think it's going to be happening more and more. And I've been hearing they're trying to, and I don't know how they're going to fucking enforce it. They're going to try and force you to buy like permits or whatever to film your hunts on out of states or in state.
So there's technically, if you were on public ground in like National Forest or BLM, or I don't know about state property for sure, federal ground for sure, they absolutely can charge you a permit fee to film. You have to get a special use permit. So if they want to enforce it, but that goes back to like when Hollywood was coming out filming stuff in public ground. That's where that originated, basically.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's definitely could definitely be charged permit fees for filming hunts. If you're on private ground, I don't see how they possibly could, but if you're on any kind of public, they definitely could probably come up with something.
Yeah.
I have a couple questions here in the comments.
Okay.
First one, Michael, have you done any elk hunting, Gary?
Oh yeah, I've killed a lot of elk.
Nice.
No big elk. My biggest elk is still a forky. I've guided guys on bigger ones, but I think I've killed 20 or 25 with my bow. But elk hunting when I was growing up is about filling the freezer. I mean, deer hunting too when we were younger. So you didn't pass up a cow or a spike waiting on a bigger bull unless you wanted dad to beat your ass senseless.
Isn't that funny though? How it's changed since we were kids.
It has, and I shot a 1x2 this year because I wanted to fill my tag and fill the freezer up. But it was, the last day of season 2 that had something to do with it. But it's changed a lot over the years. After losing dad, I thought a lot about that. It's like, thinking about how things evolved from when I was a kid and watching all his buddies come out and hunt.
Yep.
And how they hunted back in the day. It was, throw a case of beer in the truck and go drive up the mountain and everybody drink a few beers and go do some deer pushes and go do a little road hunting and they killed a lot more beer than they did deer, but it changed a lot. As my brother and I got older and started hunting and some of the old timers kind of went away and it's kind of got to be dad's core group of guys. And I remember getting the first issues of North American Whitetail, and we started doing the management thing and all, the whole thing, and it just, watch it evolve over the years, watch how dad's attitude changed about it too. It's kind of crazy to sit and think about how much it changed.
Yeah.
I started bow hunting. I didn't start until I was in college because growing up, it was, if you were a bow hunter, man, you were a dirty SOB that just wounded animals. It was a no-no in our family, in our hunting circles. And then, they got a little smarter about it and I needed more time to hunt being in college. So I picked it up and, now here I am.
It's kind of evolved how deer camps kind of, like
it is. I think a lot of them kind of follow the same line.
Yeah. And I remember as a kid, I wanted to, my dad and his best friend, that we basically joke around that he's my dad, really. They used to go to the UP for 2 weeks in November, before the rifle season started, and they'd camp out there and they'd hunt. And I was like, all right, I can't wait to go up with you guys. Then as soon as I got older, I got into sports and it kind of phased out and I never got to go. It kind of sucked. I wish I was able to go up there with them.
Yeah.
I was dying as a kid.
That was kind of the thing out here too. It's like, we had the season at home, and then if you wanted to hunt late season, you had to come up north, which is basically where I live now. And we got to do, that's how I killed my first deer, rifle hunting was up north on a hunt, but it faded away not too long after my brother and I got into it, just because land ownership changed and the old guys got old and quit, and they changed the seasons on us at home so we could have a late season at home. And, so I was lucky I did get a little bit of it.
I have a question here from Bitter Root Beer Reaper. Gary, can you hound hunt in Washington?
No, you can't. The only thing you can use dogs on in Washington is birds.
Birds.
I think we can still run raccoons with dogs, but other than that, there's no hound hunting, which is.
Do you have a cat hunting season there?
We do have cat season here, but it's essentially, either you run into them by chance or you go out and target them with calling and tracking. The only way you can use a dog on a cat is if it's basically a state sanctioned hunt with a state tracker. go out and take care of a problem cat.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay.
A question here from Michael. What state do you recommend to go elk hunting in?
Man, if I was going to recommend a state to elk hunt in, I would, if I was going to pick one right now that's easy over the counter, probably Wyoming.
Yeah.
Washington, we have some over the counter, but it's not, you're not going to get into any, what most guys would think of as good elk hunting. You can fill a tag by all means, but if you wanted to elk hunt here and have a chance at a big bull, like, you know, that record book one that was shot off the hay bale.
Yeah.
Which is fine. I'll get into that in a minute, but you gotta draw those tags, and they're hard to get. I mean, I've got 26 years of points built up, and I still haven't pulled a tag.
Wow. So. Have you hunted up in the Gila, up in New Mexico?
No, I have not. I've done all my elk in Washington, Idaho.
Washington. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a trip.
I recommend Wyoming because, I mean, I know a lot of guys that do it, and that's just, they have a lot of elk. It's a lot of country, a lot of public ground. The only downside is, you know, you can't go into wilderness as a non-resident, but there's plenty of ground to get into and get away from people. So
I got a question for you, Gary. How do you feel? How do you feel about drone recovery or drones being used to find a wounded animal?
I think it's fine for the most part. You know, like anything else, there's always that potential for abuse. But I think, you know, if you legitimately wounded something, I think drones should be fine. Same as dogs, you know, to go out and find them.
Right.
I think it's kind of that government overreach part when they say, oh, you can't do that because you might poach. Well, I might poach if I want to, jackass. I don't need you to tell me.
Exactly.
I'm going to poach.
You know, I was talking about it, and I said, you know, people, first off, you have to have a license to fly a drone. Let's
you do.
Get that out in the open. Second, make a permit available for the guy, right? And you say, okay, it's X amount of dollars for you to have that service. And if you're found abusing it, it's revoked for life.
Yeah.
So
it's an easy thing to regulate. Like that,
and I mean, you know, most of the guys, I mean, a lot of this stuff, let's be honest, it's going to happen during bow season. You know, I mean, still happens with rifle too, but why let a freaking animal go to waste? I see so many people so upset over this, and it's like, if you could fly a thermal that high up and find a deer laying in a thicket that you walk by maybe 3 or 4 times, you didn't see it. Why not let the guy recover his animal?
Yeah,
man?
exactly.
Yep. Or even if it's just suffering.
Or Brett's lost, and we need to find him.
Right? Yeah.
Okay, that's a low blow. If anything, I'm very wilderness savvy. So if you want to attack
in his backyard,
that is fucking mean.
What? What do you mean that's mean?
You just hurt my feelings.
We're gonna
go to your safe spot. Go to your safe spot.
Where's your tippy cow?
It's hey, you old fuck. It's called brave space. Get it correct.
Man.
Jeez.
You know what? I'm going to put you in timeout if you don't listen.
Yeah.
So, Jerry, out there hunting, you know, we think of Oregon or Washington as all mountains and everything. And you were saying you hunt on a farm and you have mountains about, you know, what you said, like 10-mile or a 10-mile stretch of mountains.
Yeah. So our home place butts up against a small mountain range. It's not big mountains like you're thinking of the Cascades or the Rockies. You know, it's. You guys probably have stuff almost the same size, you know, back there. Maybe not quite, but a bit close. Up here where I live now, you know, it's bigger mountains, Selkirk Mountain Range, and then over into the Rockies, into Idaho and Montana. So it's a lot bigger mountains up here. But there's still a lot of mix of, you know, small hay fields and farm fields in the valleys and stuff. So it's really not just a big continuous, you know, big woods, big mountains out here by any means.
Gotcha. Because I know a lot of, like, on the east side and Midwest where we are, you know, we saddle hunt, we tree stand hunt, stuff like that. And then when we talk to other hunters out in the West, they're like, oh yeah, we don't do that. Like, I have a great buddy out in Oregon, and I'm like, hey, you saddle hunt? And they're like, no, man. Like, why? No, we don't do that. So then I hear Washington. I'm like, oh, well, you know, you can't saddle hunt out there. It's a spot and stalk or something like that. And then I have you here, and you're like, "Oh yeah, I saddle hunt and this."
Yeah, no, if you're gonna bow hunt out here, There is spot and stock opportunity, and a lot of those guys you're probably talking to probably target mule deer more so than they do, the whitetails.
I think that's what it is where a lot of people, they'll hunt elk, mule deer, and that's a completely different animal than the whitetail.
Yeah, it is. And I've killed whitetails with my bow, still hunting and spot and stock, and just posting up on the ground in the brush. But being obviously in a stand or ground blind in the right places. That's the way to go.
That's why I feel like hunting whitetail, East Coast, West Coast, Midwest, it's all we all use the same tactics.
Yeah,
just because it's the same animal, minus the deer, the whitetail, or the whitetail in Arizona. That's completely different.
Yeah, the coos, that's a whole different ball game down there. Yeah, that's all spot and stock or sitting on a ground blind on a water hole because you good luck finding a tree to get in.
Yeah, most of the time. Yeah, my buddy hunts coos out there, and he shot I think it was it scored like a 90-inch.
That's a tank.
Dude, it was. And I'm like, oh, that's a nice little buck. He's like, no, dude, this is a tank out there. I'm like, what?
Yeah, you break 100, it's kind of like the Sitka blacktails. You start getting 80, 90, 100 inches, man. That's a big deal.
Yeah, the blacktail bucks too. Yeah.
Those Sitkas, that is one animal I want to hunt one day.
Yeah, I hunted them up when I went out on 2 different blacktail trips. I wanted something bigger, so I passed some up I probably shouldn't have. But I wound up calling some in for other guys, and they're fun to hunt.
Oh, I could imagine so. Man, that is awesome. Go ahead, Brett.
We have a question from Michael. Gary, have you done any turkey hunting in the northeastern states?
Nope, I have not gone. I've done Washington, Idaho, Montana, and Oregon. I have not got to travel east for birds at all, which will change here in the next year or two. But all my turkey hunting's been out west.
Yeah, we do have crappy deer hunting, but we have phenomenal turkey hunting here.
So I had really nice deer, probably 180s, 190s on my trail camera this fall. And then that was like September, October, and then EHD hit and just wiped out the deer population here.
Fuck.
And it was in county by county, and you would find them dead. It was horrible.
Yeah, we've had EHD move through. Oh man. Generally, we're at our home place. We never had an issue with it, but the last 2 times it hit, we got nipped with it. And it knocked them back pretty. It's not as bad as what you guys get. It's usually not quite as widespread, but it put a dent in it for sure.
Yeah, it did here too. And it was county by county, which is odd.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be like 4 or 5 counties in one little area, and then another little cluster here.
Oh, that's crazy.
But like Dave was saying, we have amazing turkey hunting. So, you ever come up this way, we got birds all day here.
Well,
we have a couple questions here in the comments. Dustin asked, I know we talked about it, but does it mention up again? Gary, thoughts on saddle hunting?
I mean, if it's not in your arsenal, it needs to be. I mean, that's just, it's a great tool. I just wouldn't pigeonhole you. Don't pigeonhole yourself into just saddle hunting, though.
Yeah.
Treat it like anything else. It's a tool to use in the right situation.
Next question: has anybody had to deal with the bird flu for bird hunting?
I haven't seen it out here yet. I hope we don't get it out here. I'm sure there's been a pocket of it at some point in the state, but I have not had to deal with it out here.
Yeah, we've had a couple. On the news, I saw a couple people, I don't even remember where it was at, that was tested positive for bird flu.
Yeah, that was up on the lakeshore, northern lakeshore, Muskegon area.
Yeah.
But duck and turkey out here has been amazing this year. I mean, when I hit the Road River area, Dave, I jumped a lot of mallards on that river.
Oh, there's tons of ducks up there.
Oh man, I'm gonna be up there this fall for sure.
Yep, that's tons of geese. Yeah, there's a lot of waterfowl hunting.
Yeah, I wish my buddies would have never got me into waterfowl hunting because, man, that's an expensive hobby.
It's very expensive.
Oh. So here, I mean, I shot my first canvasback this year. It's been kind of one of my top I'm one of those guys, I can care less about shooting a limit. If I can go out and like add 1 or 2 ducks to my list, getting the 41 or whatever it is, I'm all about that. But I spent like 2 days getting all my shit ready, made this big raft rig, drove over to the center part of the state, had plans to stay for 3 days and, just decoy and hunt the shit out of canvasbacks and get one. I got there Friday afternoon, driving up the river next to some BLM ground. I see a group of cans out just 20 yards off the bank. I go back and turn around, come back and jump on them, and I'm done, and I head home.
Yep.
Nice.
It was ridiculous. If there'd have been more birds around, I'd have probably stayed and hunted some other stuff, but the migration just never made it down here in time this year. So
yeah.
Man, I did a waterfowl hunt on the Missouri-Kansas border, and it was a snow goose hunt. And oh my God, man!
Wow.
At one point, you got tired of shooting. Like it was unbelievable. At the end of the day, you just have a stack of snow geese, and you're just like, well, now the real work begins.
Yeah, then you got to clean all those things.
Oh my God, it was horrible.
That's brutal. Are they good to eat? I've never had snow goose.
Dude, they are amazing.
They're greasy, but they taste good.
They're greasy. We would slice them up thin and fry them up with Parmesan and butter, and oh man.
Oh jeez.
Or slow cooker with barbecue sauce and make a pulled goose sandwich.
Okay.
Goose breast wrapped in bacon, man.
Oh yeah,
man.
Yeah, we normally take the Canadas and I just cube them out like a beef steak and chicken fry them.
Yeah, they're tough. The Canadas are tough.
Yeah, they are. Yep.
Did you guys see that one comment from Michael? He said
I was just gonna ask Brett. What was his comments?
It said they farmed out there on the farm. There's a duck farm out on Long Island. They had to kill over 100,000 ducks and close their business because of the bird flu. It was awful.
I saw that on the news. That's horrible.
That's horrible.
That's just awful.
That is suck.
Damn.
Well, that was like 20. So the year I got out of the Army in 2012 is when I retired. I went out to Nebraska or Kansas and Missouri and did a whitetail hunt.
Yeah.
And that was when blue tongue hit really bad out there.
Oh yeah.
And I was talking to this one guy who was a retired colonel from the Army. He was retired colonel from the National Guard and owned a deer farm.
Mm-hmm.
He had to kill all of his deer because there was 2 of them that had blue tongue.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, dude, I couldn't do it. So he had to have a buddy come in and shoot them all.
Oh,
these are just trophy whitetail and just like 200-inch plus, just massive.
Yeah, those farm deer are a whole nother level.
Oh my God, yeah, they are. Now, what's your thoughts, Gary, on farm deer?
As long as they don't wind up in the record book and somebody wants to go have a canned hunt, that's their business. Not my thing. I'll never do it.
Yeah,
they're cool to look at, man. It blows my mind when they can grow.
Man, they are crazy.
But if it's not facilitating the CWD bull crap, dude, they can do their thing.
Yeah. I just can't afford the $15,000 to $20,000.
No, I can't either.
So there's a farm here in Michigan. Legends Ranch is the name of it.
Yeah, I've heard.
And they have amazing deer, just giant monsters. And every year they put on a hunt for disabled children.
Yeah.
So children with disabilities, and they put on a hunt for Purple Heart recipients.
Yeah.
And I was actually lucky enough to draw one of those Purple Heart hunts. Dude, it was crazy. Like, I think they have 3,000 acres. And, yeah, of course, you're not going to shoot like a 300-inch deer. They limit it,
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
But, man, seeing those deer in the wild, seeing them out there, just it blows your mind seeing these giant monsters just wandering around.
That's crazy.
Gary, I want to ask, let me rephrase that, sorry. What is the hunting season like? Like, when do they start? When's it end? Like, how is it all integrated?
Generally, early archery for deer generally opens September 1st, pretty much statewide.
Oh man.
It'll run the month of September for archery. You know, this is just kind of the general seasons. There's exceptions in different units. And then it'll close for about 2 weeks, opens up for rifle for 9 days, kind of towards the middle of October. And then in some unit, it'll shut down again for, can't remember if I think it's 5 days. Then muzzleloader opens up for 9. And then after that, if your unit has a late rifle season, whether it's a general season or a draw hunt, you'll generally open up again around November 7th and run through like the 20th. That kind of varies with the late seasons. And then our late archery opens up again November 25th and runs through the middle of December.
So does your archery run through the rut then there?
It used to be better. So we're in our units here where I'm at, they used to open us on November 20th through December 15th, and then the state, in all their infinite goddamn wisdom, decided to make this bullshit 5-day season for a quality tag for guys to draw. And they took the 5 days away from us off the front of the season and pushed it back to the 25th. The dumb thing about it is their so-called quality tag is the exact same season as the late season buck hunt that you can draw literally for the 2 weeks before that, November 7th through the 20th, which is a better time to hunt than the quality tag. And it's just sort of like, whatever. So, but it does suck because those 5 days were generally a little bit better for the rut. But if I've killed a lot of deer more in that second rut time, that first week of December. And then into the post rut feed and stuff. That's personally, I'd rather hunt that stuff, but the rut is obviously fun. So
I wish they would do that here.
Michael, I'll get to your question here. Gary, I want to ask you real quick. When is the rut typically out there?
Generally speaking, and it kind of varies how far north or south you are in the state. It's going to kind of start winding up the first week in November and run, and it varies year to year with the weather and stuff. But first week in November through the 25th ish, through Thanksgiving. If it's a little bit later, it might run a little bit past that. But generally in the years past, like when I rifle hunted in Idaho a lot, or when I was hunting both states, I'd start rattling October 25th. That was just my start day, and that was about the earliest I ever rattled deer in and get, kind of the response you expect in the rut, so to speak.
So Halloween's not for you.
So,
Now, I have 2 questions. I'll ask one of them before we get to Michael. For someone that wants to come out there and hunt from out of state, when would you give them the best recommendation to hunt out there? Because you think a lot of people are going to go to states, well, it's the rut, I want to go out there. That's the most time. Generally, where you think most people are going to be
if you don't have
flooded.
the ability to come out here and pre-scout and kind of do your groundwork, you would want to target the rut time frame. So find one of the units that opens up as early. I think there's some units that still open up November 10th for whitetail. I would target one of those units and get out here and hunt the rut where you can be a little more aggressive with the calling and the rattling and stuff. I think you're going to have a better chance than you would, because if you don't have that scouting done, being on some trying to hunt the postseason feed and stuff is going to be next to impossible. Unless you have some resources to really put you on the deer.
What advice would you give to non-residents before they come out there and start hunting?
If you're going to come out late season, you better be ready for the cold. I mean, it wasn't too bad this year, but I've hunted in 30 below before. So, I mean, you got to be prepared for that nasty weather, because especially if you're up here in the Northeast, which is where a lot of out-of-state guys tend to wind up, you're probably going to deal with snow and some pretty adverse conditions at times.
Well, we're from Michigan. I think we can handle it.
You'd probably be fine.
I think if anyone can handle Wyoming, I think you can handle anywhere.
What's the hunting pressure like?
Archery season, it kind of varies with where you're at. It's generally pretty moderate. There are some areas that get a little too pounded, but it's not hard to get away from people most of the time. Rifle season's a whole nother story. I mean, rifle season, if it's public ground, you better duck if you see a buck. There's probably 5 guys shooting.
Yeah, like here.
Yeah.
Private ground, obviously a whole other story. But if you're going to hunt public, it's like you got to do a little work, get away from people.
Gary, I hunt the Selkirks and Purcells quite a bit. Shot a great buck up there in November.
Yep.
We have a question here from Michael. What is your favorite recipe to make with deer meat?
So I have a modified version of what my mom used to do. I'll cube it out, just pound it flat with the meat hammer. And then I soak it for 30 minutes in a mix of half olive oil and half a vinaigrette. Pat it dry, flour it, however you like to bread it. Egg wash it, flour it. Then I quick fry them for a few minutes on each side. And that's kind of a modified version of my mom's old recipe. And that's pretty much my favorite one.
Nice.
Man, that sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's delicious. My mom's old recipe, she didn't use the oil and vinaigrette. She just did a quick dip in apple cider vinegar. And man, if you get that dip wrong, you turn your face inside out.
Well, Gary, we got to introduce you. We got to introduce you to Flavors of the Forest so you can put some of that awesome garlic.
They're out in your area, man.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Bitterroot root beer. I'll be coos hunting in October.
Nice.
Oh, nice.
That'd be freaking exciting. Gary, I don't know if we covered this, but how much is tags for non-residents?
Man, God, I should have looked that up. I want to say deer is floating somewhere around $500 now.
Oh,
wow.
Yeah.
$500?
Yep, I think so. It might be a little less than that. I think the deer elk combo is like $785, $795. But it's not cheap. It's a lot more than what you guys are used to seeing back there. I mean, it's kind of the way it is out west now. Everything's just insane expensive or out of state.
Yeah.
Who's going to want to come on out there for $1,000 for a tag?
Yeah, it's for me to go to Idaho and turkey hunt cost me like $200 for my first one. By the time I buy a license and a tag, it's like $99 to get the next tag. It's like, man,
yeah,
that's an expensive bird.
I just pulled it up on the Washington website for their DNR. Deer license is $531 non-resident.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Wow.
That's just insane. Michael, are you allowed to use bait for hunting?
So we are in a limited capacity, although now with the CWD being in the state, they're aiming to try to shut that down. But yeah, we can bait, but you're limited on the amount you can use.
Like a bucket a day.
It's I think the rule is it's either 5 gallons or 10 gallons is all you can put out at a time. So it's a pretty arbitrary rule, and it was put in effect thanks to guys more in the center part of the state that were bringing in literal dump truck loads of apples from the orchards and dumping them out and hunting mule deer in their migration routes within sight of public highways. It was pretty bad optics. So they enacted those baiting rules statewide here. It's been, I think I was in Alaska when they did it. So,
yeah, they do that here too.
But I'm fine with that. I mean, you don't need a 2,000-pound pile of corn to kill a deer if you want to bait. So
yeah,
or apples or anything else. But
some people do.
So yeah, some do.
One more buck commented, but it's over the counter for the most part in WA. He goes on to state 10 gallons per 200 yards.
There you go.
Man.
Yeah, we were used to be allowed when we could bait, it was 5 gallons, 5-gallon bucket per day.
Yeah.
But not anymore. Hasn't been like that.
Nope, can't do anything.
10 years plus.
You can bait 2 weeks prior to the Liberty Hunt for the disabled veterans and youth.
Okay.
And
aren't you special?
Yeah. Hey, Brett, thanks. You're welcome for your freedom, by the way. But yeah, you can bait 2 weeks prior to the Liberty Hunt, and then after that, nothing. But you can't do it on state land either, or it has to be private property.
Well, let's go to Brett's property and bait.
Oh, I already have been.
Oh man!
You're welcome for your. I can't compete with that with my service, so fuck off.
Oh yeah.
One more, but Flavors of forest. Just plant tomatoes. The deer will fuck them up. LOL. At least in my garden.
Yeah.
Dude, I'll take care of that problem, Nelson. I got you.
Pumpkins and squash are good in your garden too.
Oh yeah.
Justin, FY, he's in Indiana. No baiting here unless you're a farmer, except off season.
Well, when we come down, Justin, I want you to plant about 50 rows of pumpkins and squash for us.
Exactly.
Michael has a question for you, Gary.
Okay.
Have you done any moose hunting?
I have. Yeah, I shot.
Really?
Not here in Washington, but I got my moose in Alaska. So
Nice.
Wow.
And I
That's
turned a couple
awesome.
down with my bow that I wish I wouldn't have, but I had at the time no reasonable way to get them out of the situation I was in. I mean, moose. If you haven't ever been on the ground with Alaskan moose, you just don't understand the size of them.
That is my dream hunt.
It's a whole different ball game when the moose is on. I mean, they're huge.
Yep.
So,
Well,
the
Gary,
only thing I did not get a hunt for in Alaska was muskox and bison.
Ooh,
Man.
muskox would have been cool.
Every time I see a muskox hunt, I think of the guy from Alone, that TV series that was on.
Oh yeah, that shot that
one to death with a homemade knife or some shit like that.
Jesus.
And it's like, my God.
Yeah, those muskox, man. I mean, I've seen them up on the Hall Road where I went caribou hunting a handful of times. So, I mean, they look like something out of you expect to see woolly mammoths walking around. They're just a wild.
Oh yeah,
yeah. They're, I've been 12 yards from when I snuck up on them. We thought it was actually a grizzly bear in the brush, and I had a bear tag. So I stalked up on him. This big old bull picks his head up and looks at me like, yeah, whatever, and just goes back to eating. They don't care about you one bit.
Man, that is wild.
Michael commented, I got picked for the lottery in Vermont to go. Sadly, no moose, but it was awesome. It's the experience, though, man. At least you got some experience underneath your belt. And stuff like that.
My moose was, we flew out, I don't remember how many miles. It was a ways out, and it was we were a little bit early for the rut, but it was it was the remote Alaska experience, and I wound up shooting him like 540 yards across the lake with my buddy's rifle because he wasn't going to decoy across in time to shoot him with my bow. So we spent the night out with him, got the full Northern Lights show, had to run a bear off. I mean, it was the full meal deal.
What rifle did you use?
It was a 7mm STW.
Oh man.
Yeah, I did. Funny thing was, I'd never fired his rifle before, and I shot 5 times, and 4 of them hit, and 3 of them you cover up in his vitals with your hand.
Man, that is amazing.
Yeah, and the only one shot he even reacted to was one that flew a little low and broke his shoulder going out, or his lower leg going out. But other than that, you couldn't even tell he was hit, other than we could hear him hitting.
Mm-hmm. So I was watching a video the other day on Instagram or whatever, and it was a moose hunter at I think it was at 300 yards with this giant bull moose, hit him with a 30-06 like 5 times.
Yeah.
And the moose just never did anything. He just stood there.
They're crazy. Mine was walking, and he wasn't ever in a hurry, but they soak up a lot of lead.
That is unbelievable.
Yeah.
One of my dreams to go moose hunting, man. I really want to go.
Mm-hmm. That is my dream hunt.
Yeah, it's a fun hunt. Just be prepared, because like I said, man, once you put one on the ground, it's like, oh my God.
A lot of work.
And I was ready for it, because it wasn't the first move. I took a buddy of mine out he drew a tag here in Washington, shot a cow moose, so I dealt with moose before, man. That Alaskan moose was just good. I mean, he was unreal. It's unreal how big they are.
Gary,
his one hindquarter weighed more than most deer do.
Oh, I believe that.
Oh, absolutely.
Gary, getting tired at the end of the show here. Sorry about that. Real quick, before we ask you the rapid fire questions, is there anything that we missed or anything that you should say to anyone that should be known about Washington before they come out there and start hunting it?
No, man, I think we kind of went over everything.
Yeah, screw you.
Yeah. Let me get off this show. I'm tired of this crap.
Guys, I think the one thing, Washington is the only state that I'm aware of that, maybe Oregon is too, but you can hunt mule deer, whitetail, or blacktail. You can't hunt all 3 in one season, but you can come out and potentially target any one of those 3 if you want. Same way with turkeys. We can shoot Easterns. On the west side of state, there's Easterns, and then there's Rios, and there's Merriams. So, I mean, there's a lot of opportunity out here for guys that want to come, put in the work and take advantage of it. So, and be ready for predators. We got grizzly bears. There's, we talked about the cats a little bit. Wolves are around, there's getting me more wolf issues. So it's something you at least want to think about a little bit when you're coming out here.
Hey, Mr. Host.
I have to see Squatch's ugly face every Sunday and Tuesday night, so I think I'm pretty okay with predators.
Hey, Mr. Producer, you forgot to do the commercials.
All right, we'll do it next time.
All right.
Gary, besides hunting, do you have any other hobbies or interests?
Man. I guess technically the call making's not a hobby anymore. It's a full-time job. But yeah, I used to do a lot of fly fishing. I'm hoping to get back into that a little more. Now that I'm back down here, some of my fly fishing buddies. That's really about it, because I'm pretty much, wrapped up with the hunting and the call making, outside of that. So
before we get to the next question,
some four-wheeling. I got a big Can-Am six-wheeler, so we go out and do some joy riding here and there, and
nice
shooting the guns and
nice.
One more buck. He loves Cards Against Humanity.
Oh God, I knew that. So yeah, one more buck. I knew that name. I know who that is. He's gonna pay for this.
Oh, there you go, man.
Before we get to the next,
he's laughing right now.
Before we get to the next question, Michael has a question.
Okay.
Has anybody gone to the Harrisburg Great American Sportsman Show? I have not.
No.
I didn't get out there. I had some friends that went. Frankie Mustica went. Mike Nitrate, them guys went up to it. They had a good time. So it was a nice show.
Yeah.
I have a buddy who I was in the Army with. I was actually his team leader. He's out there for Wild Memories. Chris Davidson's his name. He's going to be a guest on the show at one point. But yeah, he has his own TV show. He was out there for a couple different companies.
Gary, what's your call company? Do you sell stuff?
My call business, it's called Wild Country Customs.
Okay.
So I do a little bit of everything, turkey pot calls, predator calls, duck and goose, buck grunts,
nice.
Elk calls, elk bugle tubes like this guy. I think I'm the only, whoops. That was close. Damn near knocked the coffee cup off. So wooden bugle tube.
That's actually sharp.
Oh, man.
So
yeah, I was actually looking at your pot calls. I'm thinking I might be ordering one pretty soon for spring.
All right, man. That's kind of right now, dude. I'm cranking those things out as fast as I can. So this is one of the buck grunts.
Oh, nice.
So
that zebra wood pot call or turkey call is amazing.
Thanks.
Yeah, I got to check that out, man.
Next question: what wild game animal is on your bucket list to hunt, Gary?
Man, if I had to pick one right now, if I had unlimited budget, it would be probably a stone sheep. That would be my ultimate. Realistically, that's probably not going to happen because I'm never going to have $80,000 to kick at a sheep. But
yeah,
you never know. I missed my chance at a doll sheep when I lived in Alaska. So
yeah.
Two comments here. First one from Michael. Can you repeat the name of the call company again?
Wild Country Customs.
And then one more buck, Geoduck, ...
You guys know what a geoduck is? I bet Brett does.
Gooey duck.
Yep, the old gooey duck.
Yeah.
What is a wild game animal you want to try to eat?
I don't know. There's too many I haven't, honestly. Man, I don't know. I've had all the deer, moose, elk, caribou, the sheep, goat, muskox, bison, gator, turkey.
Man.
How about
ducks.
porcupine? Did you have porcupine?
Porcupine's not a game animal. Porcupine, though, I've never had cougar. That's one. I'd probably have to go cougar. Cat's supposed to be a lot like pork, and I have not.
I heard the same thing. That it's supposed to be really
that would
good.
probably be, if I had to put one on a list, that might be it.
Friends of mine killed a bobcat and had the meat out of it, and they said it was really good. So when I shoot a bobcat, if I get one, I'm going to try it.
Yeah. I think with the cats, it's a matter of getting past, what it is.
Oh yeah.
So
and you got to cook them really
for the
good.
most part, they have a clean diet. They're not eating carrion. It's fresh meat most times, so they should be good.
I got to get this in here real quick. Being you're from Washington, you see any of my relatives there?
The old Bigfoots?
The big furry guys?
The old Bigfoots.
The family's kind of got, it's not so much a Bigfoot story. We heard something when we were kids. Oh, man. I don't remember how old I was. It was years ago, up in the northeast part of the state. Can't say it's Bigfoot, but don't really know what else it would have been either. So we were sitting around campfire one night, summertime, and it sounded like, for lack of any better description, it was like a big ape sound.
Wow.
And it scared the shit out of everybody. My dad, my uncle, and they both spent their lifetime in the woods.
Yep.
Our Doberman went and hid under the camper.
Oh shit.
Man,
we don't know what it was. I mean, it could have.
No shit.
I don't know. It was wild. It's like, it's one of them things. I never really think about it much, but
yeah.
If I had to say I ever had a Bigfoot experience, that'd probably be the closest thing.
Nice.
So,
Nice.
Flavors of the Forest commented, I've had cougar. It tastes like pork.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what a lot of guys say. As long as it's cooked right, it's you won't know that it's not pork for the most part.
Pretty wild.
What has been your favorite state you've hunted?
Oh man. I'm pretty partial to Washington because I grew up here, but man, Alaska's hard to beat, man.
Yeah.
It's a whole. I've hunted Kodiak Island. I've been from the north end of the state to the south end of the state, and I mean, it's pretty crazy up there. Just the people can't grasp the size of Alaska.
No.
And the diversity in the landscape. I mean, it's just crazy what you can see up there. So I'd have to say it's Alaska.
Cool.
What's the top state you want to hunt next?
Probably Montana for elk.
Oh, good one.
Montana or Wyoming, one of those two for elk.
If you could pick anybody to go on a hunting trip or share a campfire with one time, who would that one person be?
No holds barred.
Anybody.
I'd love to have Dad back for one more campfire.
Heck yeah.
I can.
You say you'd love to have Dad back?
Besides my dad, probably Fred Bear.
Hey, that's 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, no kidding.
Being from Michigan, man, Fred Bear's kind of partial here.
Oh yeah.
Flavors of the Forest asked, have you hunted Oregon?
Just a little tiny bit, not much.
Well, you answered the next question was if you could bring one person back that's passed away for one hunting trip with or share a campfire with one time, who would that be?
That'd be Dad. I wouldn't have to think about that one. So.
Yeah. Last two questions are kind of quote unquote serious. How do you think we can get more people involved in hunting?
Man, I think getting kids introduced is a big deal. I'm actually a mentor for the First Hunt Foundation, so I do usually take some kids out each year. I think that's probably the number one way to get more people in. And I think the other way is just guys portraying hunting in a good light on social media and not with all the infighting and it's one thing when it's like guys like us talking and flipping each other's shit, but when it gets to the point where guys are just berating each other because one guy hunts with a stick bow and another guy hunts with a compound or a crossbow versus them, well, whatever it is, I think we got to figure out how to eliminate that and keep a good image and with what we show and just help draw people in and attract them.
Absolutely.
And show them the value in it.
Exactly. I think it's one thing to like us four, off, like just between us privately, we joke with each other all the time, but we're not going to portray that because we want to show like, hey, it's hunting serious. We all need to come together at the end of the day. We're going to give each other crap, but at the end of the day, we all love each other.
That's right, Brett. We do.
Yeah, Brett, we love you.
Yeah.
I feel the love, you sarcastic assholes.
I love you like a hemorrhoid.
Yeah. A big one.
A big one that's kind of like
Yeah, big red hemorrhoid.
One of those that kind of like you kind of feel when you wipe. There, it looks like that. It looks just like that.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Holy, he had another one. Another one. He had another one next to you. It looked like testicles.
I'm so glad. This is the last show of the week.
Oh man,
I can't wait for our hunting trip, man. It's 24/7 of this shit.
Oh, he'll have a safe spot in the tent. Are you kidding?
Oh yeah,
brave space. It's a brave space. You fuck.
Wait till we drive down to Texas this summer. It's gonna be an amazing time.
Yeah, it is.
Last question. Stop talking. No. What do you think we as fellow hunters could or should do to improve the hunting community as a whole? I mean, us four, we're giving a good prime example. Let's not pick on each other.
When are we supposed to start that?
Yeah, I thought we were going to start that later.
Yeah.
As soon as Brett kills a deer.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like what I go back to what I said before. Just the serious infighting crap has just got to stop. It's like respect other people's opinions, whether you agree with them or not. And if it's legal, so be it. Let them enjoy it.
If it makes that person smile and they're happy for that kid,
yeah,
I mean, man, be happy. Be happy for them,
Exactly. Yeah.
If I want to sleep in my mornings, I'm gonna fucking do it.
Listen, Boven Woods, you got to get your ass out of bed.
If you want to sleep in the mornings and not kill deer and host a podcast about Whitetail Advantage, that's fine.
Look, you can always listen. You can always have your podcast from your bed while we're out hunting, and then we'll video it back to you. And this is what actual hunting is about.
This is what happens in the woods.
Yeah.
So many times I've been in the tree stand and I'm like, okay, yeah, guys, I'm out here, blah, blah, blah. And then Brett's like, oh, fucking, like, it's noon. What am I doing awake?
Oh, man.
You guys don't know my real schedule. You guys are making out like I just sleep all day long.
Let's be nice to baby Brett. He's up late editing. He's up late editing and
drinking blueberry pancakes. They make you sleepy.
We give him shit, but he puts on the show that we're on. So
you guys are hurting my feelings, Gary. Thank you so much, man, for coming on the show and having to deal with our bullshit.
It'll be the last time we see you, I'm sure.
He's like, I'm never coming back on that show again.
Yeah, these guys are weird.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Gary, seriously though, thanks, man, for coming on the show and taking time out of your day to come on. I know you're a busy guy. For anyone that wants to reach out to you, follow your journey, or try and get some of your calls, how can they reach out to you, man?
You can find me on wildcountrycustoms.com. That's the website. I think there's links for my social on there. You can just look me up by my name too, on Wild Country Customs on Facebook.
Wild Custom Games on Facebook?
Wild Country Customs.
Wild Country
Customs. I got them right here.
Nice.
Real quick, make it quick, guys. John, how can they find you on Instagram?
You can look me up on Instagram at Johnny_Nitro_night, or you can find me on the Whitetail Advantage Podcast Instagram. I'm there too.
Dave, even though no one wants to follow you, how can they follow you?
That's right there. I know. I'm on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook under PSE Mobile Hunter.
Squatch?
Guys, I just want to reach out to the two new guys that started viewing tonight, Michael and Turkey. Darn it, now I'm going to miss it. Turkey Slayer. Turkey Slayer 406. Thanks, guys, for jumping on. We appreciate you as new followers on here. You guys can follow me at Outdoors and More with the Squatch on IG. I also have my YouTube channel underneath the same header. You can always find me here on Whitetail Advantage, and you can also check me out on the Garden State Outdoorsman podcast.
And he has a grinder channel called Grind with the Squatch.
That's it.
Yes. Man.
Jeez.
Priceless.
That's for after hours.
I wasn't going to bring up our channel, Squatch, but the cat's out of the bag.
That's non-PG stuff. That's worse. Yeah.
Well, everyone,
some full
thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Swamp Donkey Advantage Podcast.
That's right.
Yeah.
Go fuck yourself. Well, everyone, that's going to conclude another episode of the Whitetail Advantage Podcast. We want to say thank you to everyone for tuning in for tonight's live show. We are greatly appreciative of that. Thank you to everyone for commenting. We've had a blast. It will last on every live show. It's a fun time, man. Now, this show made you laugh, made you think, gave you new perspective. Please hit that like and subscribe button. It means a lot to us here on the team. Audio versions of our podcast gets released on Mondays and Wednesdays at 5 a.m. Eastern time. However, in the hunting season, when we only do our live shows on Sundays and from October through December, then our episodes only get released on Mondays at 5 a.m. Now, if you ever want to be a guest on the show, or you want myself, anyone from the team to be a guest on your next show, feel free to head to our website, www.whitetailadvantage.com, and submit your request through there. Or to our social media pages and send us a DM through there. Also, if you have a Carbon TV account, we would greatly appreciate if you head over there and give us a positive score there. It'd be greatly appreciative as well. Well, that being said, no excuses, just results. Put that core in that slot machine, and we'll see everyone next time on our next live show.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Whitetail Advantage Podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show, and we will see you next time.